Welcome, Episode 17 of the Mirandus Farmer's Almanac. I'm your host, Xana. Co-hosting with me, Hammer Hammond, the Eyeball, better known in Discord as Observer. This episode, we discuss a bit on-game chaining's interview at Galaverse with Jason Hughes, the lead engineer for Mirandus. After that, we talk player content and the rate of consumption. Could we be burning through content faster than it can be created? Will it affect player retention? Then lastly, the third playtest of Mirandus. What's everyone's thoughts? Well, let's get started.
There's only so much to see in there. I wish it was a more vast.
Agreed. You can get some cool screenshots.
It was like way too small. There was like 200 people or however many people and not nearly as many goblins. But it got a heck of a lot better after that.
All right.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, let's fire this up. So
let's do it.
All right, we got Observer in here today. I don't know. Captain told me to call you Eyeball. Is that what he called you?
I'll answer to either.
All right, well, let's get an introduction to you. Like, what kind of stuff do you got? What do you plan to do for the game? I know you're always in the Discord discussion or the Mirandus discussion.
Yeah, and I've been over in Spider Tanks a little bit more lately, but now's a good time for Mirandus for sure.
They're doing the tournament.
In the game, my biggest thing I want to do in the game is go around and do some big game hunting with the all-site elf and whoever's coming along. Figure out what works really good for a hunting party and go do it.
Yeah.
And I have the farming hamlet and some buildings to try to support that effort.
Oh,
and,
yeah. With this,
what I'll be doing.
With this playtest, yeah, I can see that. I want an all-site now after this playtest, but Mel's are expensive.
Well, they're less expensive than they were.
Yeah, they're like 2,000 to 3,000 now.
I don't know if it'll ever get any better than this.
That's no joke.
All right, so I wanted to go over some of the So Galaverse ended. We haven't done these in I'm putting these out like every 2 months now. I suck at this. So a lot of info just come out from Galaverse with Mirandus. I wish they would shout out to on-game chaining and like Warlord last year for just taking us around on these streams.
Right.
Because I feel like all these AMAs, it's like we never got to see these AMAs. And I feel like Gala should at least record those AMAs and throw them in announcements so we have references. But Jake did it for us. No, I mean Jake did it for us this year. I mean, Mirandus had.
Why do they have a YouTube channel then? Oh well.
I don't know, unless I didn't find it because I've just been watching.
Great question.
I've just been watching Jake's videos. So
he's did a great job this time for sure.
But he had
the interview he had with Jay Hughes was probably the most interesting thing out of Galaverse.
Yeah, it was revealing. Well, there was the other one that Michael McCarthy had that AMA talking about Zone 1, but the audio is it's horrible because we're working with Jake's little mic, and Jake did his best to try to get that sound, but it was pretty hard. So I really wanted to go over the Jason Hughes interview, and this it started them out with they were just having a conversation, and then all of a sudden Jake's like, "Hey, we're just going to record this." So I don't know. I probably put Jason in a bit of a spot, but he put out some really good content that I wanted to talk about, and that is the biggest things were the zones. So you can't expect for this game to come out in full. Everybody, here it is. Everybody put down their deeds. All the citadels are down. You're going to have to roll it out slowly and build as you go. I've been playing a lot of big time, and big time's a lot different than what Mirandus is going to be. But just how the zone rolls out. They got a starting zone. They're testing it. You're just running dungeons. There's no crafting yet. There's nothing else but just running these dungeons. I'd like to get into the content consuming by players as well. But the zones, so not everybody's going to put their deed down at the same time. It's only going to be so many deeds going down. And for building owners, that means even less buildings than what you already thought.
Someone's going to be sad.
Yeah, a lot of people are going to be
A
sad.
lot of people will be. Yeah.
And
it makes sense. I didn't like the sound of it, but what else are they going to do?
Well, it's good to have the reality check. That's the reality check of it all. It's like,
For sure.
these guys, unless you want to wait 2 years for it to come out, but they need a lot of testing done on the way and rolling out these zones as they go. And what's you guys' thoughts on that?
I just think it's go ahead.
No, you take it first.
Yeah, it's just the way it has to be. So it doesn't really matter if we like it or not. It's just the way they're going to need to roll it out. Like you said, do you want to see it sooner or later? So yeah, whatever they release, I'll be glad to go in there and check it out.
Yeah, that's very true. I guess regardless of what they crank out, we're kind of stuck with it, so we better like it. No, but I think that I actually kind of really like this idea, and I love that they have been talking about how they want to make these starting zones relevant, and they don't want it to be, you start here but never come back sort of thing, because that's going to give the zones that you start in a lot more use, and well, yeah, that makes sense, but that means that those starting zones might actually be people might be able to just sell the rights to that place to put a homestead or a hamlet or an outpost or something like that. So then you've got a whole different currency now, basically just the rights to place the deed rather than just the deed. So I thought that was kind of cool.
Yeah, it's interesting. Also with the with the gradual rollout that way, it might just be that those initial zones aren't where you really want your deed anyway.
Yeah, very true.
Yeah, on top of that, man, just being selective with buildings. Like, you're trying to find the best building owners on top of that. So my suggestion to building owners is, if you really want to play the game, start getting involved with a plan. We were just talking about that before we went live with you, Observer.
Yeah. People that are looking for building owners are going to want building owners that have a plan and are going to make their town look good or work well.
Right. Not only that, but holding 20 buildings, man. Which ones are you going to pick, right? Because you're not. I don't know if you're going to be able to run all 20. I don't know if somebody wants somebody with 20. Like, I don't know how these things are going to be managed yet.
No. But it would also be interesting to know how easy it is to swap them out. So if I have a farming hamlet,
yeah, I mean, you might have deeds that want to do that, right? So in Farmers Guild, one of the missions I wanted to do was just make that where you're talking from deed to deed. So you got another deed next to you that needs what you have, and they need and what they got. And so you might be swapping out buildings just to whatever make that little territory work and make that that economy between those group of deeds kind of work. Or, I don't know. There's a lot of stuff we don't know. But he also mentioned the exemplar, so we were under impression for a long time that we're going to get free exemplars, right? Everybody's going to get. It's a free to play game. We'll all get a free exemplar. I understand why that would not work now. And how long it'll be how long it's going to be such a long time. We need that player base, right, before we even get to there. And when we get to there, buying exemplar or buying a character should be a thing, right? You should be putting something in the game.
It may not really matter too much depending on if we have and how they work with the lending.
Right. The renting system.
I can't play all whatever I have 28 exemplars. I can't play them all at once. And so people who don't have an exemplar might not have a hard time getting one. The only obstacle to that working really well I see is the whole somebody going out and getting your exemplar killed. And so if you need an upfront cost, then that's not going to be free to play for somebody who wants to play that way. If there needs to be some sort of deposit. But if somehow I like the idea of being able to say an exemplar can't leave town, I don't know how doable that is. But then, I would gladly lend out, strong hands, true providers, other crafting exemplars, and people don't need to pay me anything. And especially if they're building up experience for that exemplar.
Yeah, that's a question. Is when you're renting them, are they powering up your exemplar exemplar with rent. Like we were talking about this yesterday a little bit. So it's like the insurance idea. So somebody rents your exemplar, they pay this insurance in case it dies, and that pays for, I don't know, resurrection or any damages that are done. But if they bring it back safely, they get their deposit back. I don't know
That would make sense.
Yeah, it seems like a cool idea, like insurances, but I'm just curious of how stuff like that works. It's the same with renting items. Like if you're renting items, are they actually getting the NFT, or does the NFT get locked in a contract and you're just getting the database item of that
Oh, it's
NFT?
going to be
So
locked in a
there's,
contract for sure. There's
but
no way
That
it's
would
going
make
to
sense.
transfer to their wallet.
but they're not actually getting the NFT in their bag. They're just getting a database copy of it that they can use until that expires, and then the contract becomes unlocked and you can use your NFT. It's like they
That's
don't
what it
actually get
seems
it.
like. There's another game, and I'd say that's what it seems like. I don't know about Mirandus. There's another game called Avagachi that people do earning with. And I bought some of them a long time ago just because I saw it on somebody's YouTube video. But they started learning it, or they started a rental thing, and it works just great. You specify what percentage split is, how much they're going to pay upfront cost, if anything, and how long they can have it. And then while they have it, while that lease is active, you can't use it yourself. It's sort of theirs. Well, just like roughly like a lease would work anyway. You can't go in to a leased house and act like you
Right.
live there. And so similar sort of thing. And then once that term is up, then either one of you can end it. And then the split goes whichever way it goes. The biggest difference, of course, is they can't hurt the character in that game, and characters can be damaged in Mirandus, and that's, I think, that's the problem that needs to be dealt with, whether it's with a deposit or something else.
Oh. I don't know. I'm curious if they do database. There's this. All right. So like during that interview, Jason, he mentioned something about it's called action sets. He mentioned these action sets, and it allows the game. Like he explains it best. Here, let me pull up this video.
Thing is the action set, and the action set is basically
I
every
vaguely
item that you
remember the
get as
action
an
set talk,
NFT
but
has a
I
set of
can't-
actions that it can perform.
I don't remember
If you put
exactly
that
what
in
they-
your wallet, you pull it out of your wallet, put it into your character, you still have to equip it. You put it in your action bar at the bottom. When you click a button, it then equips the item. Equipping the item means you can now do the actions it performs. So when you get that working, instead of having to write custom code for everything that you want to do in the game, we can now data drive most of that stuff, which means instead of an engineer being in the way for every new feature, we have artists and designers and animators who get to make all the cool things they want to make.
Okay, cool.
Oh, you guys don't hear it? Ah, man, I missed that
Nope.
then. Sorry, I'm still a newbie. So anyway,
I did it first.
So
at first it seemed like we heard a couple seconds of it.
Oh, really? Okay.
You can just tell us what he said.
Anyways, so what he was basically talking about, I hope it shows up on the at least on the stream. But what he was basically talking about is like when you equip the NFT, all the abilities within that NFT, like a weapon or something.
That's right.
You can take that and put that on your bar, and then what that eliminates is like engineers have to or game engineers changing the whole game just to fit those powers in there or whatever that item. Yeah, anything that item has that like buffs it has can just be attached to that item, and now you got artists and designers that can create any kind of NFT, whether gear and weapons, and the abilities it allows you to have is attached to that rather than the engineer going through the game and changing the whole game to code all that in. And it makes them allows them to work a lot faster. So I expect there'd be like tons and tons of items in this game that
so it kind of sounds like he's talking about just modularizing the process.
But the process allows them to work much faster just because it's within the item rather than within the game itself, embedded in the game.
And managing that whole situation.
Which is a really cool
too, I'm sure.
Right. So
that's great. Those guys really know what they're doing, I think.
They do. They do. Well, he even says it's so much experience they got.
Yeah.
All right, so content. I wanted to talk a little bit about content because, again, been playing big time a lot, and these players just consume the shit out of this content. What's the levels in there now, Hammer? You've probably been playing it more than me.
I haven't been playing it for the past few days, but like I'm seeing quite a few 40s and some early 50s. I don't know if it goes past 51, but I've seen 51s before. So that's that's mind-boggling. That's got to be like a few hundred hours already, and it's just been a couple months
right
that they've had access. So
all it is right now is just dungeon running, right? And there's no crafting. You're just getting the gear and you're running the dungeons. But Mirandus is nothing. Mirandus is nothing going to be nothing like this game. But it has the same principles of it, which is like character building, right? You're just character building, consuming the content. So I don't know. Playing the playtest, and it just seems like Mirandus will just. It's a much slower grind. Like it's a slower game. There's no fast travel. It's more dangerous, so you're more careful. But even with all that, with leveling and dungeons, and crafting, like players are just going to, you're going to have dudes on here like 15 hours a day just grinding. And I'm just curious if the team is expecting this or what they have in place. Like crafting's a whole other thing itself. Like you don't want to a lot of on-chain gaming, Jake's questions. I feel like it's not getting answered that well is the items, right? The oversaturation of items if they are NFTs. And how that, tiering, I think McCarthy mentioned tiering on the crafting at one point where it's just, if you got people just crafting constantly, there's going to be an oversaturation of these items. So Materium might be keeping its value, but the items are just constantly like nobody's you're giving away iron swords, right? Unless you're tiering it and it requires to burn that first. So
it'd be great to get rid of the old ones, but does it really matter if there's a million iron swords that nobody wants?
Well, if it's an NFT, you're going to have to burn it. Like it's taking up wallet space or it's just inventory space. Like, is there a way to get rid of this? It's just littering, right?
I'm pretty sure they've talked about in the past the ability to take an iron sword and resmelt it back down because that would make sense.
Recycling.
And then, buy up 100 iron swords so you can smelt them down to maybe make a iron, I don't know, statue or whatever it is. So that recycling mechanic could help, but that's not necessarily the answer to your question.
Yeah, it's the crafting. So the content like eating that content crafting. It's like when I played this game CSC. I always talk about CSC, but what the tiering system is like. I talked to Observer about this. We talked about this. Tier 1, you make the Tier 1 iron sword, right? Well, you're leveling up your crafting for whatever that crafting is, blacksmithing, whatever. And at some point, you invent Tier 2 iron sword. Tier 2 iron sword requires Tier 1 iron sword to make it with mats, materials, whatever. Then Tier 2. And then you're the only one making Tier 2. Then somebody else now making Tier 2. But all of a sudden, you made it to Tier 3. And the tiers just keep going. And the lesser tier requires lesser tier items. And so that kind of content, players, it's infinite, right? You get to Tier 50. And Tier 50, or like even Tier 3, right? It might take you 2 months to make one sword of that, right? So they can kind of control that for content. But even so, then there's leveling. So we're leveling weapons now. How hard is it to level weapons? And then there's players out there just crushing it, leveling. What's the cap on leveling weapons and how hard? There's just a lot of content to be chewed through. So
yeah, no, that actually makes sense too. Because if you're thinking about forging a sword, you can have more and more iron beat down into that sword in real life, as in like a Tier 1 versus a Tier 2 versus a Tier 3.
True that. I don't know. You got any thoughts on it? It does. You got anything on it?
Yeah, I just think that, what would the real world equivalent be? If we want to make whatever a real life tier 2 sword is, we don't necessarily get a tier 1 sword and turn it into a tier 2 sword. And the simple thing might be best, and just have a mechanism for burning the tier 1 sword NFT,
Right.
and recycling it back into usable metal that you could make anything out of. So if
yeah,
which might be a tier 2 sword, but if you could turn it back into raw material, which would have a cost just like it does in real life. You don't.
Yeah, I like that.
the question
It's not
is,
just going to generate something out of nothing.
but if it's an NFT, you can't destroy it. So I'm just curious
Why
about.
not?
I don't know. That's what they said. We can't. McCarthy's like, I don't like the idea of destroying.
Yeah, I remember him saying that.
Yeah, I don't know how to work. I mean, something's gonna have to work. So that might change. I don't know. We'll
Right.
find other ways around it.
It seems practical and simple, most practical and simple, just to recycle it back into raw material. But I mean, if they have reasons that doesn't work, I would trust them.
I'm even good with the requirement to have to use that sword to forge. That's like one of the materials that you need to make the second tier.
Right.
Yeah.
That would make sense.
All right. Oh no, we got anything on content? Anything you guys think, or should we move into the playtest?
I can't think of too much about content other than the fact that, always remember that in part we're the content too.
Yeah, but we burned through
That's
it.
very true. I think regardless of what they would have come out with in this playtest as far as content, players still would have been unhappy because it's not enough. But it's like it's a compliment. Yeah, it's a compliment. It's not like a bad thing because it's just like there's just never enough stuff to do.
Last time I got to make a sandwich. Where's my sandwich?
All right, well, let's move into the playtest. What do you guys think?
I'm enjoying it a lot more now since it's not so crowded.
Yeah, I would agree. It's much easier to go and kill a goblin right now than it was the first couple days, because it takes like 2 or 3 shots to kill a goblin, so it was so hard to actually get a kill because someone would take it.
You couldn't take your time.
No, you couldn't. You really couldn't. Now it's more fun though because you can kind of walk around, and I haven't been doing as much shooting as I have been just taking screenshots and just like basking in the glory of all the content, or of being in the world of Mirandus. Even if there's not a whole lot to do, you can still get some cool B-roll footage for videos or screenshots for backgrounds or something like that.
No, I loved it, dude. I'm like absolutely hooked on it. Like I've gotten into trying to hit them goblins across the field, right? There's
the long distance shot.
Dude, there's like multiple mini. I love how they're keeping count a little bit in the discussion. They're like, wow, somebody's got this many and somebody's got this many. I'm like, oh, okay, so they see the count. So
that's cool.
There's so many different games in there. One is the poaching. So you're talking about how hard it is to get a goblin. That's me. I'm waiting for you to put 2 arrows in that thing so I can put the third.
It's dirty, but I do it a little bit.
Right, and so they say, and then you feel guilty about it, right? So you don't want to be you don't want them to know it's you, even though they don't know who it is anyways. You don't want them to know it's you. So I gotten good at long shots. So I'm waiting for some guy that's way out there, and he's got 2 arrows in that thing, and I just shoot it way out there, and he looks at the other guy that's closest to him, like you stole. So no, it was me. I did.
That's funny.
But yeah, oh man, I just became obsessed with. It's like the greatest shooting range ever, right? I don't know if I used to play Big Buck Hunter like in the arcades. So it kind of reminded me a little bit of that, and just like you gotta lead your shots out. The arrow has drop on it. There was some really good shots. I'm like, I'm not even sure if I hit that. Did I kill that or not? Right? There's some that I wasn't even sure of because it's so far out there.
You got to look at that counter in the upper right and try to keep an eye on it, so I know if was that my kill or someone else's.
Yeah, I always forget to look at the counter. But I don't know.
Yeah, I agree with you completely. That's what I've been enjoying in here the most is leading them, and then they'll change direction on you. But if you can hit that long shot on a moving goblin, it feels pretty good. And it also feels, I don't know how much this is going to translate over to the other game, but I mean, heck, if I'm getting better at nailing that shot, that's what I'm going to be doing in the game.
Yeah,
so
that's what you should. Yeah, this is great practice.
Semi-productive.
Great practice for the all side, definitely. You think the all side's going to be shooting faster, or what? What are you hoping for out of the all sight?
Well, I would be really happy if it was quicker to draw that bow.
Yeah.
That might be it, though.
And there's one thing, the thing that's bugging the heck out of me is when you're trying to hurry it up, it's not crystal clear when you've got the bow drawn back far enough or, long enough.
Right.
And so I've several times, especially when the poachers are around and you're trying to hurry up, that I just end up, putting the arrow back down instead of releasing the shot, when I'm trying to release the shot. But you just got to get used to it. But it would be nice if there was some more clear clue about that. But maybe there shouldn't be. I don't know. But
yeah, for the all sites, they could even do not only faster draw times, but maybe no drop, and it hits where you point it. That would be fairly interesting. Or the zoom. Yeah, there could be zoom.
Well, and if you're putting, if it's some sort of skill where you're getting more power out of it, then you would get more velocity and less drop. There's a lot of different things. It won't be, I'm sure, like playing Diablo with the archers in there, but some similar things. I'm reminded that watching Lord of the Rings, because I always use Legolas as sort of the template for all sight, that there were times when he was firing 2 arrows at a time.
Oh, that would be good. That would
be
good.
That would be cool.
Yeah, he'd fire multiple arrows at the same time. That'd be nice.
I would just settle for pretty much, the bow equivalent of a cannon, something that's hitting really hard, really far,
They should definitely change the sight. Like that little circle with the dot should be like the line with the 3 lines, just so you can range out the far distant shots.
Yeah.
And maybe some sort of, I don't know, something that makes it a little bit more steady or easier to track the target.
All right.
They haven't said much, but I'm guessing this some of those generic, things that you would expect to see in just about any game will be there.
So, what'd you guys think of the lighting?
Some of it's got a ways to go. I don't know. Well, if you mean the lighting itself, or how much light there is,
how dark it got.
I was timing it right, so I'd recorded, and then on the dark parts, I just put it to 32 times speed to make that stuff go fast, and then point the camera up at the stars going in a circle or something like that. But no, it was like about almost 5 minutes of darkness and a few minutes of light.
Wow.
I mean, given the option, I'd take more light than dark.
I think
that's wild.
A lot of people were, quite a few were upset with how dark it was. They're like, I can't do anything. I think it's important to add that like this cycle is fast forwarded, like super fast. So there's a point where the moon comes out, and maybe the moon should be like a little more full because it's only a half moon. But how long, like in the actual game, like the time that it'll take for that moon to be out, you'll be seeing that, or the time at dusk, because dusk goes really quick in the playtest. Like it turns red.
There's no transition.
Well, it turns red. You see it red, and it's only red for like literally 10 seconds. But in the actual game, you might have all that red glow everywhere for an hour, 30 minutes. So,
the sky goes red, but you don't see very much on the ground at that point.
There's a point.
My monitor brightness.
No, there's a point where I don't know if it's the cloud reflection of the light from the sun, but that cloud reflection then reflects to the ground, and you see this red. It almost looks like a misty fog across the ground, and it's like this red tint color, and you can see everything that's all red. And it's only like for 10 seconds or something, but in the actual game time, it might last 30 minutes, an hour, and you can be out there doing that. So, and then that time that it is pitch black, you might be sleeping. Might be a good time to rest your character or get your stuff done in town. I don't know.
That brings in a whole other can of worms.
Yeah.
There's a time if you're watching the sky that the sky starts brightening up. And in real life, I've been around for a lot of that. In real life, that sky starts brightening up. So does the area around you.
In the morning.
And in the game right now, which of course they're going to be doing a lot of adjustment to, that sky starts lightening up. and then you look down, for goblins, and it's still
pitch
super
black.
dark.
Yeah,
they just need to work on the transition, and I'm sure they obviously know that. So.
I caught that too, so I was like wondering, well, it should be getting light down here because at the same time when it's getting night, you're getting that red feel.
But it's like there's no danger, right? The whole thing about it gets really dark and it's dangerous. Well, if it's not dangerous, maybe we could have had more light than dark.
Dude, those goblins.
That's the only time you can do anything,
except
for look for glowing eyes and shoot at them.
That voice that did all the for the goblins is great.
Oh yeah,
he did.
If
very,
them things
very well.
attack you, man, you hear them walking around. You imagine one running at you, dude. You don't see it. You just see giant eyes running at you.
I would pee my pants straight up.
Like, what are you doing? What are you doing? I was like, oh, my character is dead at this point. Hurry up and Alt F.
Right.
What is it? Alt F4.
Well, the way these things operate with each other, it's not going to be one of them running at you either.
Oh yeah, the AI Jason was talking about. Yeah, man. How smart does the AI get when it's learning?
Yeah.
That'll be crazy. And then they'll also learn based on, since it's like that adaptive learning AI or whatever it's called, they're also probably, I'm assuming anyway, going to learn the most effective way to take down a player. So like if they are successful in doing it this way, maybe the AI will take it, okay, we should try this again, and then we should try this again. And maybe I'm thinking too much into this, but then they start learning how to flank. And then that's actual like AI.
And then you add them having archers and arrows. They're shooting you. Yeah, I can see how this game can go really slow, and you gotta be really careful. And
I wonder how smart they're going to actually make. Maybe there will be differences
That's a great question.
between the different types of monsters. Just how smart they are. So are they going to be watching what we're doing and strategizing, or is it going to be more a matter of, every time I see someone do that, they get killed, so I don't think I'll do it. But how primitive will they be? And maybe there will be some monsters that are, smarter than we are.
Hey, it creeps me out that they have their own language.
Yeah, that is pretty wild. Someone's gonna actually have to learn the language. That way we can decipher what they're saying.
Dude, that might be like a secret in the game. The first person that be able to decipher the language. They're always talking about their treasure in this cave over here.
Whoa,
dude, that would actually be so cool.
Yeah, I mean they could do it. I don't know. When I play you get so many ideas when you're playing this playtest. Like, imagine you're in the playtest. It's, right now it's a shooting range. Most people think of it as a shooting range, but actually, to act like it's not a playtest. Let's act like you're in the game and you're in this field. And there's I see hunting parties. Like, all right, so we out there and those Lantern of the Sun guys, right? There was 2 of them, and the Lantern of the Suns are just kind of like holding their lights and flashing. Whenever they put their light on, the shit it dies, right? Because there's so many players out there. So I can see you got a deed area, and it's getting nightfall, and you need to clean. I don't know what dangers monsters do to deeds. I mean, at the very beginning of all this, they come and they attack your deeds, right?
Wreck your walls, I guess.
Yeah, or wreck your walls. So it's like, do you set a hunting party at night? And it was so fun to be out there with those 2 lanterns, even though they were farming us for the kills, right? They'd wait till 2 berries go on that thing, and then they'd fire their 3rd. But where it would be like you need to clear out the deed area because you got a goblin infestation, right? And so you're going out there at night, and I don't know, you see ideas for how these lanterns can charge fees, or you're renting a lantern, or I just don't know how well the torches will work. And it's just a giant spotlight. You can just clean them out real quick, and it's just.
I don't know how much of that stuff's going to happen at night because the spawn rate's only so fast. They've kind of talked about it before that you might in the daytime be organizing parties to go out and shoot all the goblins and other monsters in the daytime because they're not going to immediately. It's not going to be like the playtest where a whole new batch is coming up that quickly. And so if you're regularly just in the daytime wiping out the monsters, then the deer and the things that you want to shoot and eat are going to become more plentiful because those predators are gone. And then it'll just take longer. I mean, if you ignore it for a while, of course, they'll start making their way back because, now there's a whole lot of food.
Yeah.
Because all the deer are flourishing.
Yeah, so every now and then you might have to do something.
You really need to go out at night to kill those things.
Well, what if that's when
or
they
not.
attack? I mean, night they come out and they
Yeah.
start doing damage.
Or some of them are just better at hiding in the daytime. Sure.
Maybe. Yeah. I don't know.
I vaguely remember someone saying that there could be different monsters at nighttime versus daytime, so
Yeah.
that could also be a
Makes
distinction as
sense.
well.
Dude, I wonder.
Can you illuminate your area if you can put torches up around your town? That alone might make it a heck of a lot easier to stand watch and
Right.
and,
Head of the Minotaur King keeps him away.
Yeah, that would be
Could be.
cool.
I really wanted him to put that ogre in there from that second playtest. You remember that giant ogre?
Yes, that would have been sweet.
In that field, it'd take 100 arrows to kill it, man. That thing would be cool, kind of wandering there, and everybody just.
That would be pretty cool, yeah. If there was just one big thing wandering around in the middle.
Yeah, I mean,
And he's just swinging his club.
It's amazing, like how many arrows a character can hold in them, like the memory, right?
Right.
In their arms.
Oh yeah.
I guess it's there until you log out, because once I'm out of arrows, I log out. Like I loaded a dude up with arrows, right? I logged out and logged back in, all those arrows. I assumed it was when I logged.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. One thing I wanted to add in was the goblin count. People keep coming in there, be like, "Is it counting?" Because I log back in and I'm back to 0. I guess that's the exemplar thing, right? How many exemplars?
That's what I thought at first, but then somebody mentioned it, but I have like 28 of the things. So initially, I was drawing zeros as they came back in. Now I still occasionally get a 0, but a lot of them are just picking up where I left off.
Well, somebody mentioned it in chat, and Jason came in and was like, "You're a genius," because that's what's happening. So it's recycling through your exemplar. So that's the account for the specific exemplar you have. So if you roll back in, and you're 0, that's an exemplar you've never used starting the count. But it records all your counts, right? If you kill one goblin and one exemplar and you log back in, back to 0, it's still counted. You still got your 1. But
it's comforting now.
Yeah, it is. What do you guys think of this picture? What do you think it is? I said Citadel of the Moon.
Picture? Which picture?
Wait, can you see it?
Oh, yeah.
I thought it was Citadel of the Moon. My loading screen's super quick, so it was super hard to capture this screenshot. But I don't think that's Citadel the sign.
I mean, it would make sense if it's Citadel of the Moon, because, I mean, the moon's in the picture.
It's right there above the thing.
It's lit up by moonlight.
Really cool concept.
That would be pretty sweet.
Right,
actually, that's interesting. I wonder if you could go through and piece together screenshots to see if you can find the 5 different citadels.
Dude, that's got to be Citadel of the Moon.
It almost has to be.
I just finally got there. I'm afraid of pushing buttons on my phone right now, or I'll lose you guys.
Who owns that? Is that Flare? Does Flare own the moon?
That I don't know.
I think
I don't know a whole lot about the citadels.
Listen. All right. So
that looks pretty cool. The architecture and the layouts of those, the way they're customizing them is going to be pretty awesome to go check out the citadels.
Oh yeah, man, it's going to be amazing. They'll be a zone themselves, right? I think Jason was talking about like it's its own whole zone. So,
which was good to hear, because it sounds like they can hold lots and lots and lots of buildings.
Oh yeah.
One of the big questions, one of the big, wide open questions of the whole game is, what can you fit in these things?
Yeah, well, the question is, like all these buildings, I need to be able to fit my building somewhere, and there's not enough plots. So the question is with the Citadel. It's the same with all the deeds. I don't know. They took the floor plans off all the deeds, so they can adjust them any way whatever works best for the game. It's like Jason says,
That's interesting.
Man,
well, the good news is none of them are going to shrink, right? So I'll take some extra spots if I can get them.
Yeah, I hope they don't shrink. Sure, anybody. I'd like some bigger spots.
Can you imagine the uproar?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's been gone so long, there's a lot of people that might not know about them, but there'd still be some uproar. There's always going to be an uproar. Can't make everybody happy.
The best thing happening.
For sure. All right, what are we at? 38 minutes. I don't know. We got anything else? I think you guys...
Nothing I can think of. Well, thoughts on the playtest also is kind of cool. As I recall, the moon and the stars didn't have a very realistic motion in the last one, so it was good to see, the moon traveling in its trajectory while the stars, do more of that circle thing. I've taken a lot of pictures of the night sky, so
Any
It's just cool to see. I would love to see a couple things. I'd like to see is moon phases. I don't think it's changing. Maybe no reason it would at this point,
but
but
they
in the
could.
final
Yeah,
product,
they could
it
do
would be
monthly
cool to
moon
have moon
changes too.
phases.
Yeah.
And
That
maybe
would
some
be cool.
constellations, like there's no Polaris or Southern Cross in there or whatever, but some kind of constellations would have really, I think, add to the lore. Potentially add to the lore of the game too.
Ooh, we were talking about this last night. What do you think, Hammer? All right, so game's live full time, right? What's better?
Okay.
6 hours, or not 6 hours, but 5 hours or 7 hours, or 6 hours
For daytime?
for
The full cycle.
Was it the whole cycle? No, it's
Well, I don't know.
no, it's daytime. Daytime or nighttime, right?
That's actually a really great question.
So if you did if you did 6 hours, no matter, because I'll divide into 24 hours, right? The 6 hours.
Right.
So you can predict when you get home from work what the day situations will be. Now, if you do 5 or 7, that changes every day by like an hour or a couple hours, right?
Yeah.
So at different times when you're ready to play the game, it's always going to be a different time in the game. So I was just curious, what's your own opinion would be, what you'd rather have?
I kind of think I'd rather have it changing. So I could understand people want it to be the same at all. This that way you can expect.
Yeah, 3 o'clock in the afternoon. It's always this time of the day.
Right. And I guess that's how most other games are that have a day and night cycle, which makes sense. But at the same time, it would be kind of cool for the people that don't get to experience a certain time because maybe they're at work or something,
right,
and there's no possible way that they can log on at whatever time.
But if you do 7 hours, do 7 hours, eventually it's going to take a long time for the normal time you play. It's always nighttime. Like maybe for a week or something, it's always nighttime. Or it's always daytime again. You throw the hours off that don't divide into 24 hours.
Right.
So
yeah, that would be hard.
Yeah, I got questions on that. I'd like to see some poll data, what everybody would think in that.
Yeah, that'd be a cool poll.
Yeah,
I wonder if you could throw that in.
Yeah, we should have Taz, if you're listening, make that a poll on Twitter, right?
Really,
that'd be a good poll.
Seriously.
I don't know, it's kind of like a math equation, a kind of concept first. Like, what are you talking about? 6 hours a day, and
yeah, no, but I get what you're saying.
Right on.
Something else with the playtest that I was thinking about, and so. If you put yourself in the actual world of Mirandus and you're walking around at nighttime, you need some sort of light. So we immediately think of a torch. But with a torch, you can't really just put that in your backpack and keep walking with 2 hands, right? Because it's fire. Obviously, that doesn't work. So I wonder if maybe if you're holding a torch, you can only use a one-handed weapon.
I'm sure that's
or if there will be other sort of lanterns that you can make that you can hook onto your backpack or something, and so that's a whole nother
the hooking on the
lantern
and being able to use 2 hands would be pretty
huge.
powerful. Right?
Yeah, it'll be really, really important. So we keep talking about torches, but I bet lanterns are going to be a big thing as well.
Yeah,
I might just stay home at night.
Yeah, really.
Although caves, though, you want to be able to operate in caves, and it's always going to be dark there. So
for sure.
Yeah, those lanterns will help huge there. Man, this game's going to be so much fucking fun. It's going to be awesome.
That's no joke.
Yeah, it's just so vast. There's got to be something in there for everyone.
All right. Well, let me throw this out that Mirandus Farmers Guild, we do these tavern nights. We've been doing them weekly. We just come in voice, chat about the game. Anybody that wants to hop in, welcome. I'll normally throw out an announcement. Come in there, talk about the game, what's your interests, whatever, try to get to know each other. We've been doing those on Saturdays, so Mirandus Farmers, I think it's like you can find it in the Guild channel and the Gala Games Discord.
You should throw a fresh invite in there.
Yeah. I mean, maybe I should. I don't know. You scroll up a little bit. I don't want to clutter because everybody kind of clutters their guilds in there.
Spam.
But anybody's welcome to jump in there. Love to get to know more people, see what everybody's plans are for the games, kind of help everybody out too, right? And I don't know, Hammer Hammond. Make sure you check out his channel. He's more active on this one. So he's throwing content all the time with his thoughts. So I'll throw a link in the description. I'll also throw a link for On-Chain Gaming's interview with Jason description too. But until next time, who knows? Might be 3 months, right? I don't know. I'd like to do these more often, but dude, big time like consumed all my all my time.
It's so much fun, but man, it's like it's a grind.
Yeah. I'd like to thank Observer for coming on, hanging out with us, old eyeball. You're welcome anytime, brother.
All right.
All right. Until next time. Peace, everybody.
All right. See ya.
Yo.